Okay, now let's take a look at an example of a component that uses an event emitter. So open up this folder and look at the vote component. Now here's a slightly modified version of the vote component from the last lecture. So we have this property here, vote changed, which is an event emitter. So often we use that as an output property in Angular components. But in this section, we don't worry about this decorator because we're not working with templates. So let's simplify the code. Now when we upvote, this component should raise an event called vote changed, and in the event data we should have the total votes. Let's test it. So let's go to the spec file. I've initialized the component in the before each function. So let's go straight to the test. This component should raise vote changed event when upvoted. How do we do that? Well, component.vote changed. This is an event emitter. And event emitters are observables. So we can subscribe to them. And here we can get the event that is raised. In the event, we have the total votes. So here we can add a function TV, as in total votes, goes to. Now we can declare a variable here and initialize it to null. Now when we subscribe to this observable, we can set this total votes variable to what we get from the event. So this is our arrange part. Now let's act. Component.upvote. And now let's assert. So one way to do that is to expect total votes dot. Now here we have a property called not, and all the functions you have seen so far, like to be falsy, to be truthy, to be greater than, and so on, all of them are available here as well. So here we can use to be null. So we expect total votes not to be null. Now this is a little bit generic, and sometimes I prefer to be a little bit more specific because there might be a bug in our component that wouldn't send the total votes in the event. It may send a different value. With this assertion, this test would still pass even though we have a bug in our component. So I prefer to be a little bit more specific here. So I'm going to change this assertion to expect total votes to be 1. So this is how we test output properties, which are event emitters. Next, we're going to take a look at an example of a component that uses a service to call a backend API.